that they can take advantage of, though. The Knicks' biggest need, it was more depth. And this morning, New York addressed it, at least in part, signing Malcolm Brogdon here to a one-year deal, a little flyer. The former sixth man of the year averaged only 12.7 points, just over 4 assists, 3.8 rebounds in a career-low 24 games last season for the Wizards here. But it could help a little bit here for the New York Knicks. Wendy, does this Brogdon signing, what does it tell you about what New York is trying to do here?
Well, I am told that the Knicks were on Malcolm Brogdon for over 2 months, that this was a guy they really wanted to sign this summer. But Brogdon wanted to see if he could get some better offers first. He didn't. Now, this is a non-guaranteed deal. And I want to point out the Knicks signed 3 players this week. They signed Landry Shamet and Garrison Matthews. And from what I understand, the Knicks are going to have basically a competition to see which of those 3 guys can make the team. One of them is definitely going to make it. Maybe they can do 2 if they make another move. But it's going to be a training camp competition. And all 3 of these guys have been in NBA rotations in the recent past. So the Knicks definitely feel like they've upgraded their bench.
Ramona, how do you view this?
Look, they needed to upgrade their bench. Their starters led the league in minutes last year. We've heard Mikal Bridges complain about that. We've heard other players on the team kind of grouse behind the scenes on this. But it just remains no team whose starters have led the league in minutes has made the NBA Finals since 1987.
Right.
I mean, they had to address their depth. They have to play differently. And presumably that'll fall on Mike Brown to play differently. But also it's on the roster.
And that's part of the reason they brought Mike Brown in, so that they can use this roster a little bit differently. When it's all said and done, Perk, I feel like we spent a lot of time this offseason talking about the crowded Western Conference, and rightfully so. But in the East, when it really is looking like the New York Knicks are head and shoulders, maybe along with a couple of other teams like the Cavaliers, above everybody else, how do you feel about them heading into this season?
They are. To me, they're the best team in the Eastern Conference, right? We know that the Celtics, they are somewhat in the rebuild mode. Okay, the Cavs, I don't trust them. I trust Big Body Bronson as the leader of that ball club, and they addressed the issues that they needed to address. You go and you get some bench players that's going to come in and play their role while still keeping your entire core together. We know OG Anunoby. We know what he's going to bring to the table for us being that 3-and-D guy. At times, he looked like Scottie Pippen. Josh Hart, he's going to come back on the mission. Obviously, they just re-signed Mikal Bridges, and I'm looking forward to see what Karl Anthony Towns look like under a new voice of their locker room and Mike Brown. I think we're going to see the best version of him. If you ask me, I'm all in on the Knicks for us in the Eastern Conference. No slight to nobody else. I just feel like they checked all the boxes, and they're the best team in the Eastern Conference right now on paper.
I don't disagree with you in terms of being one of the best teams and checking all of the boxes. I do think it's alongside the Cleveland Cavaliers. And Brian, I was talking to Evan Mobley the other day, ran into him in a WNBA game, and I just said to him, there is a level of maybe it's daunting when there is so much expectation and also so much opportunity when a conference is wide open in front of you to be able to be the team that runs through and seizes that. Can the Knicks do that this year?
Yeah, I mean, they've got to look around at their opportunity. Jason Tatum is going to likely miss most, if not all, the season. Tyrese Halliburton, the same. The Cavs are dealing with several players coming off surgeries. There have been a lot of years, Malika, where the Knicks had disadvantages that they couldn't control. Now they've got the breaks breaking their way. Their team has been put together. They're built out. They're in the best position we've seen the Knicks to win the East in a generation. They have got to take advantage of this season.
I do not disagree with you on that one, my friend. Hey, as the offseason for the NBA...
What's up, Knicks fans? This is New York Knicks Report, and today we've got a story that's crucial. Not flashy like dagger threes or highlight dunks, but foundation level. This is about how the Knicks are building depth, addressing one of their biggest historic weaknesses, and making decisions that could define just how far this team goes in the title chase. Strap in. Over the past few days, the Knicks have made moves that tell us they're serious, not just about being good, but about being championship caliber. Among the headline moves, signing Malcolm Brogdon, bringing back Landry Shamet. Those are guard and backcourt pieces, experienced, proven, able to score, able to stretch defenses. But what many people didn't realize until now is that before they cemented those backcourt signings, the team almost added size in the frontcourt. NBA insider Jake Fisher reports that the Knicks brought in veteran big man Thomas Bryant for a workout. Yes, Bryant, someone with 8 NBA seasons under his belt, last playing for the Heat and Pacers, averaging around 6.5 points and 3.8 rebounds per game last season. That tells you how New York was weighing its options. Do we go with more size inside, or do we prioritize scoring off the bench? In the end, the Knicks chose the latter. They put scoring and backcourt depth ahead of frontcourt depth. And why? Because last season, their bench was league low in scoring among all teams. They dropped just 1,783 points off the bench in the regular season. That's the second fewest in the NBA. That is rough. If your bench isn't contributing, you lean heavily on your starters. And if something goes wrong, injury, foul trouble, fatigue, you don't have that buffer. Knicks fans know what that feels like. So adding Brogdon and Shamet is a strong signal. The front office is listening. They know that to compete in the Eastern Conference, where stars are abundant and games are long, you can't just rely on 5 guys playing 40 minutes every night. You need quality depth. You need bench scoring. You need guys who can step in, knock down shots, spread the floor, relieve starters, and keep up defensive effort. Now, what about Thomas Bryant? If he had been signed, he might have given more size inside, more rebounding, more rim protection, something the Knicks have needed the last playoff runs. But the trade-off is clear. Frontcourt bigs often demand more touches, more space, and sometimes slower pace. The roster already has size and defensive presence. NG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Karl Anthony Towns. What was missing was someone who could come in, score when needed, play off the ball, shoot, and relieve pressure on the main rotation. That's what Brogdon and Shamet can offer. And between Shamet's existing connections to the system and Brogdon's experience, they look like solid fits. Beyond just signings, there are more recent signals of improvement. The Knicks starters last season were among the leaders in minutes per game. Josh Hart, Bridges, OG Anunoby, all were up near the top in the league in terms of minutes played. That stress showed up. Fatigue in the playoffs, wear and tear, so the change in philosophy under the front office appears to be trending toward better distribution of minutes, more reliance on bench contributions. We also saw how important that bench can be in clutch moments. In the very last game of the 2024-25 regular season, the Knicks beat the Brooklyn Nets 113-105 despite missing starters like Brunson and Towns. That comeback was driven by reserve players. Landry Shamet scored 29 points, including 7 threes. Cameron Payne added 21, and Miles McBride contributed 17 and 8 assists. That performance from reserves proved that the bench can win you games when it's asked. So putting this together, the Knicks had a glaring weakness. They've addressed it partly, and they've shown that their reserves can deliver. That doesn't mean problem solved, but it means the gap is closing. The front office seems aware, the coaching staff seems aware, and the roster is being shaped with more balance. Now, what are the risks? Brogdon has had injury issues in recent seasons. He's missed many games due to health. That non-guaranteed contract shows the Knicks are hedging the risk. If Brogdon stays healthy, he can help a lot. If he doesn't, the team still has bench pieces, but might be thin. Also, depth alone doesn't win a championship. Experience, chemistry, healthy stars, coaching, they still all have to come together. But you cannot ignore that having a bench that contributes is one of the major ingredients. Now here's where I stand. I believe these moves show that the Knicks are making the necessary adjustments. They are learning from past playoff runs. They know the difference between being good and being a real, consistent contender. The Brogdon signing, Shamet return, passing on Bryant in favor of scoring depth, these are smart, calculated, championship-minded decisions. The Knicks still have to remain durable. They have to get the young guys contributing. They have to integrate the backup into the rotation so those minutes off the bench are meaningful. They'll need health, smart decisions, and stars at peak performance. But the foundation, the plan, is looking stronger than it did last offseason. So now I want to hear from you, Knicks fans. Do you think the Brogdon and Shamet bench overhaul is enough to fix last season's bench scoring woes? If Brogdon stays healthy, can he change the bench unit identity in New York? Would you have preferred them to sign Thomas Bryant instead and go big inside? Which player off the bench are you most excited for this coming season? If you like what you heard, hit like. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any Knicks news, breakdowns, and reactions all season long. Thanks for watching New York Knicks Report. Let's rise up together, believing that this year they're built to take the next step. Until next time.